Hello, this is Hector Vladimir. Today is the 8th of February 2021. As you may know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. The pandemic is raging throughout the world, especially here in the United States, killing many thousands of people daily. Worldwide, here in the United States, a few thousands per day are dying. The situation has been dire for the last few months, to close to over actually a year now. Many have gotten sick. Many have lost their lives, lost their livelihoods, lost their health, their well-being at the very least. And at the very least, many have lost their way of life through losing again health capabilities and financial wealth and all that. It has been a very tough time for many of us. I hope that you and your family and those around you, friends, have been well. If not, wish you the best of luck. Wish you the best of health, of recovery, if you happen to be sick or someone you know happens to be sick. And I do encourage you and hope that you are taking care of yourself and your family and your friends and those around. I want to discuss today how the power system remains and still staunchly persists in abusing and pummeling, pounding on the poor, the meek, the forgotten, the unemployed, the underemployed, the disabled, almost without any concern for human well-being, for human dignity, without any remorse, without any mercy. The economic machine that we live under, whose yoke we live under right now, whose jackboot we dwell under, still grinds on, even during the worst of a worldwide epidemic that's ravaging all kinds of countries, especially here in the Americas. I want to detail how the economic system, especially the power structures, such as your power company, your cable company, your water company, your basic services, such as home mortgage companies, your landlord if you rent, all of those entities are barreling through and crushing all of those unable to pay, unable to keep up, unable to maintain their payments up to date. They will evict you. They will
kick you out into the streets,
if need be. Talking about the mortgage companies and cities and states, governments. They will evict you unless a hero, like hopefully the U.S. government, comes and saves you from them. The power company, let's start with that, since I'm most familiar with that aspect of our economic system, since I've been tracking, following that, and learning about that for years. How the power companies will crush you as far as your
livelihood. It
will squeeze every single penny out of you, so you keep your lights on, keep your heat on, keep your cooling air on, and all of your cooking and
appliances
that maintain you basically going. They will shut those off in a heartbeat, no questions asked, and they'll sleep like babies without even thinking about it, without even flinching. That's how these people operate, the people that operate and run
the power company.
If you don't pay, you will be getting your power shut off, no questions asked. You will be made to pay because it is, in this country, a utter and vast
corrupt monopoly. It is
basically a mandate coming from up top, coming from those up above, the high-ups. Seemingly, their rule comes down on you like thunder. And inexplicably so, because we allow it as a population. We allow our leaders, governments, elected officials to give
the power company
so much power that they act like gods up in the clouds, up above, just throwing lightning bolts at us. That's how they behave. And absolute power will bring absolute corruption. That's no question, no exceptions. And
the power company
is no exception to that. You give them too much power,
there will be abuse.
And abuse there is, my friends. Let me assure you that. Many people I talk to, since I'm in the solar energy business, are desperate, especially right now during this pandemic, where
these
power companies are raising their rates, jacking their prices up, overcharging them. They offer very little. Many times they offer no means to fight back, to complain, to regain lost income or lost funds because of their mistake. And I'll explain
shortly.
Power companies abuse you. Because first of all, let's start with that. Let's start with the way they're set up as far as charging you and you paying for their services that you have no choice of switching companies.
A service that them and them alone could offer.
And they charge, according to them, according to legend, they charge you per kilowatt hour that you use. Basically, that's 1,000 watts per hour that you use. They basically break it down into those units. 1 kilowatt hour, 1,000 watts per hour that you use every day. They add up, and then they charge you for each kilowatt hour. The rate up and down depending what time of day you use that kilowatt hour. For some odd
reason.
Don't ask me why. They just make it so. Because, oh yes, they got this algorithm where the power is worth more when a lot of people are using it. So you get penalized for using it when you need it. And
this
never, ever made any sense to me, but that's how they have it set up. And don't complain and don't bring the system down until they fix it. That's how we have allowed it to be set up, so it is partly our fault. The power companies
charge
every kilowatt hour you use. The rates fluctuate, as I mentioned, not only in the time of day, but it also fluctuates in the time of year, so you can hardly keep up. No one that I know, including myself, could keep up with such fluctuations and such algorithms. The mathematics behind that type of stuff is beyond the average person. So, to a little surprise, no one keeps up with such things. So, you basically have no
idea
how much you're supposed to be getting charged because of all of these
fluctuations.
You don't remember
when you used
that 1 kilowatt hour and what time, and you're not looking at your meter
24 hours a day.
So, how can you
possibly complaint?
How can you possibly bring up any evidence that you're
being overcharged?
This is true to my heart.
I
believe that this is somewhat by design. It is somewhat complicated on purpose. So you have a very, very hard time keeping up and even a harder time proving that you are being overcharged. And my friends, I guarantee you that overcharged you are being right this moment. The power companies claim with some validity that to generate power is very, very costly, and it takes a whole city, a whole county, a whole state full of customers to keep the rate at which they charge power down. They claim it is down, but it is down, I'm not sure for what percentage of the population. Maybe the top 10, top 20, top 5%, it is okay. But for the rest of us down here, the 80 to 90% of us that are middle class and below, lower middle, poor, working poor, and people that have nothing, what you are getting charged for power is ridiculously and criminally high. Again, as I mentioned before, you're being charged from 5 to 10 to even 15% of your income, sometimes in many cases higher if you're in the very bottom rung of the economic ladder. You are paying a huge chunk of your monthly income
to the power company.
And with no mercy, you are being charged this every month without fault, like
clockwork.
And you basically have no choice to pay later. Yes, they have their very meager and very hard and very difficult to qualify for programs for poor folks that are entangled in so much red tape and so much difficulty and complexity that people just
throw their hands up,
whether they qualify for it or not, and they just don't
bother.
That's their goal. Their goal is to limit the amount of people that actually try to qualify for these programs, and when you do, you are so harassed and so pressured, pushed around by these people to give information.
Applying and keep messing with paperwork.
And people just let it drop.
And get away from it.
And they'd rather have power. They'd rather just pay a exuberant amount of money for exuberant amount of their income percentage. That is just human nature, and they know it. These power company people know it. They have the funds and the means and the people to study these kind of stuff, and they basically exploit the people that cannot
fight back,
that cannot complain, that cannot take them to court, that cannot prove their case because of their lower means, their desperate situations, etc.